Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Misty Abraham. I'm the Director of Student Accounts for Point Park University, and today we're going to answer some of your most needed billing questions, payment plan questions, any general questions you may have about your student account. In student accounts, we are responsible for billing and collection of tuition fees, room and board. We also work with payment plans, employer reimbursement, 529, veteran benefits, but most importantly, we are here to assist you and your families with obtaining financial clearance. Financial clearance means you found a way to satisfy your student account balance. Now, if you have some questions, please feel free to type in your questions and we're here to answer them for you.
And hello, everybody. My name is Angelo Gargaro. I'm with the Center for Student Success. So as you enter Point Park, I am part of the department that advises students and basically helps you all the way to graduation. My role in this webinar today is basically to moderate. So I will be looking at the questions that you're posing in this webinar. I will present them to Misty in a very general kind of way for her to respond to. Just some housekeeping things so we're all on the same page and to create a comfort level for asking questions. Number one, everybody in this webinar is private, so you can't see anybody else. The questions that you pose will be sent only to me and Misty. Nobody else can see them, so please feel free to ask a question. That's what we're here for. If for some reason the question is a little too specific, I will respond to you by typing and link you up with somebody from the Student Accounts Department after, so we can answer your questions that way. So I see some questions starting to flow in. If you ask a question, just be patient as we go through. We anticipate a lot of questions through this process. So thank you, everybody, for joining. All right, Misty, so the first question I'm seeing come through is, do you have the yellow ribbon program for the military?
Yes, that's a great question. We support our military 100% here at Point Park University. We have specific designees at the university that can help you. There's also additional information on our website to tell you how exactly to start your application for veterans benefits. And we do match yellow ribbon, which is a great thing. If you have veterans benefits and you run out of your cap for the year, Point Park University is going to match your yellow ribbon benefit that the military provides to get you back up to 100%. So that's a great question. Yes, we do participate in yellow ribbon.
All right, thank you for that question. Now, next, we have a few questions that are circling around payment plans, Misty. They're not super specific in the question. So if there is more of a specific question revolving where do you go or how do you do, please, you can ask more specifically. But Misty, overall, just generally, we're getting a lot of questions about how the payment plans work.
Sure. We offer interest-free payment plans at Point Park University, which is very unique. We do them in-house so that we can manage them to meet your needs. We offer several different payment plans. We have annual payment plans, which means you're looking at the entire academic year. So you want to get a payment plan for fall and spring at the same time so that you don't have to worry about how you're paying for spring in the spring semester. If you say, hey, well, I don't really want to think about spring right now, or I have a different way that I'm going to make payment in the spring, I just want to focus on fall. We also have semester-only payment plans, and that would be for fall only. So for the annual payment plans, we have a 10-month plan, a 9-month plan, and we also have an 8-month plan. You can start as early as June 15th on those annual payment plans. And the sooner you sign up, the more you're going to save, because there is an enrollment fee for those payment plans. The June 15th is the 10-month payment plan. That enrollment fee is only $25, and that's due with the first payment. The 9-month payment plan, which starts on July 15th, is a $50 enrollment fee. And then we have the 8-month payment plan that starts on August 17th. That is $115. Therefore, if you start early, you're going to save on that enrollment fee. But remember, there's no interest throughout the payment plan. Now, if you're saying, well, I just want to focus on the fall only, we have a 5-month payment plan that starts on July 15th for a $25 enrollment fee. And we also have a 4-month payment plan that starts on August 15th or August 17th because the 15th is on the weekend. And that's a $65 enrollment fee. If you decide that you want to use a payment plan, the student will sign into Point Web, log in. Once you're logged in, you will go to the student section in student accounts, and then you'll complete the payment plan form of your choice, whether it's an annual payment plan or it's a semester payment plan. Once we get that form from you, we will calculate and break down what your payments will be, and we will email that back to you. Now that's to the student. If we email that back to the student, You'll review that, determine whether or not it's going to work for you. If you have any questions on it, you email us right away or call us and we'll go over that with you. If you have a parent or someone who else would like to see that payment plan, you're going to want to sign that parent up as an authorized payer. And students, you will do that on Point Web. Once you do that, that authorized payer will then get those same notifications about your payment plan or your billing statement that you are receiving. That way you don't have to take the time to forward it to that person who needs it. Once you make that first payment, then you're now officially on the payment plan, and we will send you monthly notifications on how much is due for each month. Because sometimes your financial aid may go up, sometimes you might add a class, which will give you an extra charge. We calculate that every single month for you, so you know exactly what has to be paid.
All right, we have got a lot of questions coming in, so thank you everybody. Please be patient as we get through, and we're getting a lot of obviously repeat questions, so that means that we're going to answer some of these in one fell swoop. Revolving around the payment plans, Misty, we're getting some questions about, do you need to be approved for the payment plans?
The way that you get approved for the payment plan is by enrolling in the plan, so signing up on Point Web, and then making your first payment, including that enrollment fee, which remember is the 25, the 50, or the 115 for the annual, or 25 or 65 for the semester. Once you make that first payment after submitting your form online, you are then approved for the payment plan. In the event that your payment due date comes and goes and we haven't received payment, then you would no longer be able to use that payment plan. But maybe something happened and you no longer wanted the 10-month plan. Now you want the 9-month plan. We would just ask that you go back to Point Web and select that plan, and we'll send a new calculation out to you. So in short, yes, you do have to be approved, but that's in your hands by making that first payment with the enrollment fee.
Now, Misty, I don't know if this is a separate timeline from the payment plans. There is a question asking about the date we need to accept the financial aid offer.
As far as the financial aid offer, you can accept that at any time now and going forward through August 17th, which is the tuition due date. So you have plenty of time to do that. Obviously, the earlier you do it, the better. That way you can start planning if there is a student account balance, which means your financial aid does not cover everything, and now you need to find a plan. So really, you have until August 17th, but it's always good to start planning earlier.
All right. Another question coming in around the payment plans. Are you able to have two family members have their own payment plan for the student?
That's a really good question. We get that question a lot. Sometimes we have a mother and the father who are making payment on that, and sometimes it's even mom and grandma who are making payments on that. We ask you to figure that out with your family. So we'll do one payment plan for you, and then we'll forward you the monthly statement. At that point in time, if two people want to make separate payments, that's fine, but you only have one payment plan with the university.
All right, and I am responding as Misty is kind of speaking in the webinar. Generally, I'm responding to some people specifically, individually, to direct you to certain websites, or to try to get like some student ID or just student contact information in the event that it's a question that I think we should follow up with individually, one-on-one with a member from student accounts. So you'll see some of those coming from me as well. I just want to also point out that in the main chat area, I have sent a link to Point Web. That is the website that Misty was referencing about the payment plans. It's a good starting point for a lot of different things as a student, parent, at Point Park. So that website is linked in the main chat for anybody who does not have access to it. You do now. All right, next up, let's see. Are there fees to payments of tuition, Misty?
That's a good question. It really depends on how you pay your tuition. If you decide you want to pay tuition with a check or an electronic check on Point Web, it's called an e-check, there is no fee. And you can also pay with cash whenever we are in the office, and there's no fee for that. In the event that you want to use a credit card or a debit card, no matter what type of card you use, there is a 2.55% fee per transaction. Now, if you're using your debit card, I would recommend that you just pull out that dusty checkbook, because we never use checks anymore. Take your routing number and your account number, pick the e-check option, and you can make that payment for free. But if you want the simplicity of using your debit card, it is going to cost you 2.55% per transaction. And that's whether you pay in our office or if you pay online. We do not accept payments by telephone.
All right, we're going to switch gears just slightly, but I'm sure we'll get back to payment plans as we go through some of these questions. I want to get some of these early questions out of the way here. Thank you again, everybody. This is great so far. So a question's coming in about the CARES Act. Someone's wondering if everyone who applied to the CARES Act, does everybody receive it?
The CARES Act was for students who were registered in the spring semester. So that's for full-time undergraduate, part-time undergraduate, as well as full-time, part-time graduate students. If you're a new incoming student for the fall semester, fall 2020, you would not be eligible for the CARES Act. And just to go back a little bit, if you were here in spring 2020 and you applied, it doesn't mean you're automatically eligible. The financial aid office will take a look at your application and they will determine whether or not you're eligible. In the event that you are eligible, then you would get that refund directly to you, and we do process that through the student accounts office. And we do like if you sign up for direct deposit because that's the most secure way and the fastest way you can receive your funds. But again, the CARES Act is for the students who were current students in spring 2020, not for incoming students in fall 2020.
All right, Misty, we've got a question here about the 529 plans, and I know that we had a few questions that were asked previous to the webinar starting around this. Is it easier, preferred to have the provider pay PPU directly or to come through from the families?
Sure. So 529 plan, for those who don't know, is a prepaid college tuition savings plan. Typically what happens is the owner of that plan, which doesn't have to be mom or dad or a guardian, it could be grandma, aunt, whomever opened that plan for you. The owner of that plan would then request those funds. We would like for you to request those funds at least 2 weeks prior to the due date, which is August 17th, so that there's time for that to process. At that time, as the owner of the plan, you have the opportunity to say, do you want this check sent directly to the university, or do you want this check sent to you and then you make payment from that? We'd like for you to have it made payable directly to the university and just have them add the student ID number to the check. That way we know exactly who that money is for. If you have it sent to you, that just causes a little bit of a delay because then you'll have to forward that money directly to the university.
All right. Next question circles a little bit around athletic scholarships. Are these automatically deducted from the account balance?
Yes. So in the event that you're an athlete and you have been awarded a scholarship, congratulations, that money is added to your financial aid package. If that's the only thing that you're going to use, you want to make sure you let the financial aid office know that you're not completing the free application for federal student aid, because they're going to wait for that. If they wait for that and that's all you're using, that scholarship's not going to show on your account until much later. If you're not using it and you say, hey, I'm not using the FAFSA, please apply my scholarship, it'll be automatically deducted. There won't be anything else you need to do as long as you've signed your contract with athletics. You do have to do that first. But that goes for any scholarship or any other financial aid. If you're missing documents with the financial aid office, your financial aid will not show on your billing statement until financial aid has everything that they need. So if you go out to your billing statement today, and if you're registered, you will have one, and you see, oh my gosh, it shows that I owe $25,000. I have a scholarship. Where is it? That means financial aid is probably looking for something from you. So it's a really good idea to check on Point Web. It'll show your missing documents, or simply email financialaid@pointpark.edu, and they'll get back to you with what it is that they actually need from you. The earlier you do that, the better, because now you're going to know exactly how much you owe, and you can plan better that way.
Misty, you may have answered this, but it is in a very similar vein, so I just want to make sure that I push this out there.
Sure.
So someone's daughter received a scholarship from an external source, which will send a check to Point Park directly. Is there a specific form that PPU requires to complete? Will it offset her scholarship award from Point Park?
That's a great question, and you're going to love the answer. In the event that you're a student who gets an additional scholarship outside of institutional means Point Park University has offered you this scholarship. But say you go to your church or somewhere in your local community and they're awarding you this scholarship. That's called an outside scholarship. That's a private scholarship. You can simply just send us a copy of the letter that comes from the foundation who awarded it to you, as well as a check, and we will apply that to your student account. It will not offset any of your institutional scholarships. That means we do not reduce the amount of money that Point Park University has given you. What it can do, if you have a bunch of outside scholarships and a bunch of institutional scholarships, it could reduce the amount of your student loan that you have, which actually is a really good thing because that's money that you don't have to pay back. But we will never reduce the amount of institutional aid you receive. And that is unique. Some schools will do that.
All right, and there's some great questions coming through. We are moving along. So if you have a question pending, just be patient. We may actually answer it before we get to yours via another question. Do we accept the federal direct loans before finding other loans or payment plans?
Yes. What happens is if you complete the free application for federal student aid, the financial aid office will automatically award you, which means give to you, any federal student aid, including student loans, that you're eligible for. So that would be the federal direct subsidized and unsubsidized for undergraduate students. That will be in your financial aid package. As long as you've completed all the documents for that, it's going to show on your student account. And then from there is when you're going to determine what additional money do you need. What is your final balance on your student account minus those student loans? That's always taken into account first.
Okay, let's see. What do we got next? We completed the student aid and promissory requirement. When will we hear from financial aid regarding student and parent loan options?
Sure, you can actually apply for parent loans right now. What will happen is whenever you get your financial aid package, there will be a little brochure in there that will give you information about the federal Parent Plus loan. And that's a credit-based loan for parents of dependent students. You can start applying for that now. You will know within 48 hours if you've been approved for that. Typically, you'll get your approval or denial right at that time that you apply for it on studentaid.gov, I believe it is at this point. I know they changed the website a little bit ago, but I think it's studentaid.gov. As a parent, you'll log in, you'll complete the PLUS loan application. If you're approved for that, then great, you can borrow as much as you need to cover that tuition balance. If you're denied for that, then your student is eligible for additional unsubsidized loan money to help with a little bit more of that cost of the education. But financial aid will get that information within 48 hours, put that in the student aid package. Once you complete the promissory note, then it can be added to your student statement. Right now, I do know that financial aid is going through an upgrade of their software system. So it is taking a little bit more time to get that PLUS loan out there, but that should happen by the end of next week. If you've applied and been approved and did all your paperwork, you should see it out there next week.
All right, we have a question here regarding, let's see, money from an outside source, which we kind of talked upon, a little bit different with this one. So we have money put away with our financial advisor in a college account. Is there a way to have the tuition bill sent directly to them so they can allocate and send out the payments?
We certainly can do that. We call that third-party billing. In the event that you want us to do that, we do need your authorization because we don't want to just send your bill to anybody. We know that's confidential information. In the event you want us to do that, please have a letter sent to our office with the foundation or whomever it is you want us to bill, and we will bill them directly. Now, we won't bill them right away. We're going to bill them after the add drop period. And the reason we do that is in the event that the student decides that they're not going to be here for the fall semester, we don't want to bill them in July and then have to return that money to whomever it was that sent it to us. Just give us a letter, how much we are able to bill for them, and we can go ahead and send them a bill directly. And that will happen in September. But don't worry about financial clearance, because if we know we're billing someone $5,000 for you, and we know that's secure money, then we're going to count that towards your financial clearance, and we won't hold you accountable for a penalty in the event we don't have that money by August 17th.
Misty, is completing the FAFSA necessary in order to apply an offered merit scholarship?
It is not. You do not have to complete the FAFSA in order to be eligible for your merit scholarship. That's institutional money, and the FAFSA is not required. Just remember, you will want to let financial aid know that you don't want to complete it, because they're going to keep asking you for it because they think that you want to complete it. But if you just send a simple email saying, we're not completing the FAFSA, they'll do what we call waive the FAFSA, and then we'll move that merit scholarship over to your account as anticipated financial aid.
And I just want to take a moment to remind everybody that this webinar is going to go until 1 o'clock. You do not have to stay the entire time, but I would hope that you do, because we're covering a lot of really cool, good questions that you may not even be thinking. Just to let you know, though, when you do exit the webinar, there will be a survey. It's 2 questions. I made it super simple and easy for you. If you could please just take a very quick moment to complete that survey. We're looking to do more engaging webinars and things like this, especially during the isolation periods and even when we move back on campus. We want to continue with this trend. So please give us some feedback, provide some responses to that survey. We would really appreciate it. Great questions so far. Misty, for international students, how much of a time period do they have to before they have to pay arriving to the US?
Sure, really good question. For international students, we use a site called Flywire. This is a site that allows you to put in the amount that you want to pay. It's going to take a look at the conversion rate and decide how much is it going to cost for you to send that money, because there's always a fee whenever you're sending money from a different country to the United States. Now, when you use Flywire, it's going to give you options and give you the best option, the cheapest option for you to send your money. It does take a little bit longer than just simply going online and making a payment towards your student account. We would recommend that you start that process at least 2 weeks prior to the tuition due date. So start at the beginning of August, start with Flywire, get that payment sent through. That way you'll know exactly how much you're going to pay with your fees. So you're going to pay your direct costs with student accounts, but then the fee that you also have to pay to send your money to the United States. So start that approximately 2 weeks before the tuition due date.
Okay, so how do I decline the subsidized and unsubsidized loans that I see were deducted from our bill? We do not want to utilize those loans.
Sure, that's very easy for you to do. If you decide you don't want to borrow a student loan that's showing on your student account, simply email financial aid at pointpark.edu and say, I decline my loans for either just fall or the entire academic year. So if you don't want them for fall, but you want them for spring, please be specific. If you don't want them for either semester, then you can say, I don't want them for the academic year. And you will have to do that every year. So just telling us one time that you don't want the loan doesn't make it go away for the next academic year. We automatically award that to you because we have to, and then you have to tell us you decline it.
For the 2020-21 award letter, this person's saying that they do not see the estimate for room and board costs. It's showing 0. Is there a contact, Misty, that they should reach out to beyond student accounts or financial aid? Is that a student life, res life kind of thing?
That actually would mean that you may not have put on your FAFSA that you plan to live on campus. So you'll want to contact financial aid and let them know that you plan to live on campus so they can put that estimated in your cost of attendance. If you're talking specifically about the award letter, yes, contact financial aid. If you're talking about your student account statement, you don't see any type of room and board on there, but you plan to live on campus, you're going to want to contact student life so you can get your contract completed and submit your deposit. And you're going to want to contact student account so we can put some estimated charges out there for you until you're actually assigned a room and a meal plan. That way we can give you a better idea of how much it's actually going to cost for you to go to school.
I'm getting a lot of questions, Misty, about the due dates that are being referenced. Is there a website that I can link in the chat that would list these dates or a good reference point beyond Point Web?
Yes, it's a great idea. If you go to pointpark.edu/student accounts, that'll take you directly to our page. It's going to give you all the payment plan due dates, and it's going to give you all of the tuition due dates for fall, spring, and summer if you decide to come in the summer.
I will link that into the main chat here in a moment once I get another question out there for Misty to answer. When do we need to apply for student loans, Misty?
You will want to start applying for student loans as soon as you've registered for courses and you have your student statement. That way you have enough time to plan that out, and in August you're not scrambling to say, oh my gosh, the tuition due date's 2 weeks from now, I have no idea how I'm paying for it. So as soon as you have your student statement, which again, if you're registered, you will already have a student account statement for fall 2020. You can start applying for those loans now. But if you wanted to wait, I wouldn't wait any longer than July 15th. So you allow yourself at least 30 days to get everything together and you're not scrambling in August.
All right. We may have touched upon this, Misty, but I want to make sure we're addressing it again. Does the payment plans work different for scholarship students?
The payment plans do not work differently for scholarship students. No matter what type of financial aid you're receiving, you are still eligible for the same payment plans as anybody else. You'll simply apply for that payment plan. We'll calculate it for you, include those scholarships that you're receiving and any other financial aid, getting you to that bottom line and dividing that over the number of months that you've selected. Remember, 10, 9, 8, or 5 or 4 for fall semester.
All right, let's see. How do you know how much you are going to have to pay? Are you committed to one before you know how much you're going to pay?
The way that you'll know how much you have to pay is finalize all of your financial aid documents. So if you intend on borrowing student loans, make sure you do all of your promissory notes. If you're doing any type of outside scholarship, make sure you get all of that settled before the tuition due date and get that information to us. And then you'll have a student account statement that will show you all of your charges, including tuition, fees, room and board if you're living on campus, and then all of your financial aid will be deducted. On that statement, it's going to show you fall semester only. We bill for one semester at a time. Right now, you're going to be looking for fall 2020, and it's going to have a student account balance. That's the balance that you're going to want to start looking for ways to pay, whether it's a payment plan, whether it's through a GI Bill, third-party billing, or a Parent Plus loan or a private loan for a student. That is the balance that you're going to be paying. Now, you can commit to the university by making your deposit. And then when you get your bill, if you decide this is not going to be feasible for my family, then at that point in time, you don't have to be committed any longer. You can decide to cancel your application with the admissions office. Obviously, we hope that you don't do that, and we hope that we have enough ways for you to pay for your bill. But in the event that something comes up and that's not something that you're able to do, contact our office so we make sure we do go over all of your options with you and you're not missing something. And then still, if you say, hey, this is just not going to work, you're not required to come to Point Park after you make that deposit. You can decide at that point that this is just not going to work.
Misty, we had this question earlier. I want to make sure we address it again with some new people coming into the webinar. Can more than one person be an authorized payer?
Absolutely. Anybody that you want to be an authorized payer. It can be your best friend if your best friend is going to pay your balance for you. If so, give me that best friend. I'd like to have her too. But anybody can be an authorized payer. You can have 15 authorized payers if you want. And we do have some students who put many different people on their account. Just remember, all of those people will get notification that your bill is available. And they do have access to go out online to look at your bill. Now, they won't see anything else. You don't have to worry about your grades or your schedule or anything else out there. They're simply just going to see your bill that includes your tuition fees, room and board, and your financial aid, along with any payment that you made. But yes, you can have as many authorized payers as you'd like.
And right now we're at the halfway point for the webinar. Great questions. We're going to try to get through as many of these as possible. If for some reason we can't get to all these questions, just know they are being documented via this webinar, and we will be following up with people if need be. My contact information is also linked to the webinar, and you can reach out to me with any questions and I can forward it to the correct department. But we're going to keep hustling here and try to get these questions going. So we applied for a Parent Plus loan. However, we have yet to hear if it was accepted. Misty, do you know when someone might receive a response?
You should receive a response within 48 hours of applying for that Plus loan. If you haven't received a response, you can do one of two things. You can log in to studentaid.gov and take a look to see where your application stands, or you can simply call or email the financial aid office and they have access to look up that information and they can tell you the status of that application.
Is the $5,500 student loan the max we can qualify for, or can we ask for additional loans?
As far as the student, that is the maximum that the student is eligible for as a freshman student. Now that will increase as the number of credits they complete increases, but you cannot ask for any more than that in the first semester, second semester of school. What you can do is look into Parent Plus loans, which again is in the parent's name to cover the remaining balance, or a private alternative loan option, which is ultimately a student loan. It is credit-based and the student does need a credit-worthy cosigner. And that loan can be used to cover the remaining balance on the student account. But as far as federal loans for students, the maximum is included in their aid package.
All right, let's see. The loans that the school gives us on the financial aid form, do we need a co-sign on them?
No. Your federal direct unsubsidized and subsidized loans are guaranteed loans by the federal government. You simply just need to be a student registered for at least six credits in order to be eligible for that. You do not need a creditworthy cosigner on those loans. The one thing you do have to complete is the entrance counseling and the master promissory note for those loans. Once you complete that promissory note and entrance counseling do not expire for 10 years. So we can use that same promissory note for your second, third, and fourth year at Point Park, but you don't need a cosigner.
If a parent is no longer employed, does not qualify for unemployment benefits, can loan availability for student and or parent be increased?
What you would need to do in a situation like that is possibly complete what's called a professional judgment because there's a change in financial circumstance. You would need to do that with the financial aid office and there's specific forms for you to complete. At that point in time, the financial aid office would review that and see if there's any changes first to give you any additional grant money. If so, that money would be awarded to you. In the event that you want to borrow in excess of the tuition fees, room and board, meaning you would end up getting a student refund or a parent refund, there's a maximum amount that you can borrow, and that's called your cost of attendance budget, which is included in your financial aid award letter. If you're not sure of the maximum you can borrow, you can contact financial aid and they can tell you that. You can also put on your PLUS loan application that you want to borrow the maximum. And if you do that, the money is going to come to the university in September. We're going to award that to your account, so we're going to post it to the account. And if there's a credit balance, meaning a negative balance on the account, that money will then be refunded to the student if it's a student loan, to say you borrowed a private loan, or the parent borrower of the federal Parent Plus loan. And that money then can be used for additional educational expenses the student might incur while in college.
Misty, we're getting a lot of questions on the due dates and deadlines to apply and different payments. And again, I have linked in the chat where everybody can see both Point Web and the student accounts website. So for deadlines and dates, I would highly recommend you visit there. You can also find contact information for various members of the student accounts and financial aid offices. But is there anything, Misty, just to kind of re-go over it again, any deadline dates? Is there a time frame that someone has to? I'm getting a lot of questions about applying for loans. Is there a particular cutoff point where people can't do that anymore for the upcoming academic year?
Sure. The date that you're going to want to keep in mind is that tuition due date for each of those semesters. So right now we're focusing on August 17th for the fall 2020 semester. But remember, it does take a little bit of time for loans to process. So you don't want to wait until August 17th to apply for that loan. We ask that you apply now so that you're prepared and that loan is ready to go to disperse so we know that money's coming. But again, if you want to wait, try to have everything done by the 1st of August so that we know exactly what loan you're borrowing, if it's enough to cover the balance, and if there's anything additional you need to do for that loan. If you wait until just a couple days before the due date, you risk being late for that semester, and we don't want that to happen. We want to make sure you're financially cleared before that August 17th deadline. If you're planning to borrow a student loan, whether it's a private alternative loan or a federal Parent Plus loan, we suggest that you borrow for the academic year. So you borrow for your fall balance and your spring balance, and we can help you figure out what the balance is going to be for spring. A lot of times parents will just double the fall balance, and that's great for the net amount, but there is a fee with the federal Parent Plus loan. So the government takes out a small percentage before sending it to us. I do believe it's still around 4%. So you have to take that into account before applying for that loan. So you want to add in that additional percentage so that you have enough money to cover the net amount. Otherwise, say you borrow $1,000 and you owe $1,000, they're going to take a small percentage out before sending it to us, and there's still going to be a small balance on the student account. But think about August 17th, think about August 1st. Those are really good deadlines. So August 17th, everything should be done. August 1st, you should at least start it.
Can books and supplies be purchased with loans as well if needed? If so, how do you determine the amount of funds needed?
That's a great question. And the answer is yes. Books and supplies can be charged directly to your student account. only if you have a credit balance on your account. So that means you've borrowed enough in your student loan to cover all of your direct costs, which again is tuition fees, room and board, in excess of that. So now you're thinking about maybe it's going to cost you $500 for your books. Then you'll want to add that into your student loan so that you'll have a credit balance on your account. And approximately 10 days before the start of the semester, we will open up what we call the bookstore charge period. You'll need to complete an authorization on Point Web to say, hey, you're allowed to use my financial aid to cover my books. And then you simply go to the bookstore and charge those books directly to your account. We do limit it though. You can only charge up to the credit on your account or up to a maximum of $700. So if you say your books are only going to be $300 and you only borrow $300, we will only authorize $300 for you because that's the credit on your account. But if you have a credit balance of $1,500, we're only going to authorize that you can use up to $700 at the bookstore. One thing to keep in mind about that is if you're thinking about, oh my gosh, I have no idea how much my books are going to cost. Come closer to the start of the semester, the online bookstore will have your classes out there. You can go and pick what class you're taking and figure out what's it going to cost for me to rent a book? What's it going to cost for me to use a used book? Or what about a new book? And it can give you a general idea of what it's going to cost for your books. But again, you can only use that money directly at our bookstore or our online bookstore. If you're borrowing elsewhere, or I'm sorry, if you're buying elsewhere, and you borrow an extra loan money, you're going to have to pay for those books up front. And then when you get your student refund, if you're getting one, then you can reimburse yourself at that point.
And just from an advising standpoint on this topic, I just like to add to my current students, when I get this question about books, I always recommend students reach out to their instructor and ask about the textbooks that are listed. A lot of times instructors may or may not require it. They may actually provide like handouts, printouts, PDFs. There may be an error, hopefully not, on the syllabus that maybe they catch in that conversation. Ultimately, I say that if you don't need to buy the book, then why spend the money on it? So I always recommend reaching out to the instructor, and then you get to know the instructor ahead of the class also and start that kind of networking process.
Right, and that bookstore charge period is open through the add drop period. So you're going to sit in at least one class with that professor, and you're going to determine at that point in time if you need that book. Maybe you already bought it, then make sure you return it during that bookstore charge period so you get your money back for that.
Awesome. I didn't know that. That's good information, Misty. I'm learning stuff here too. So my daughter, not my daughter, but somebody's daughter got a grant and scholarship for the dance program. Congratulations. Great. If she takes business classes, can that money be used to take business classes?
That's a really good question. A lot of times we will have our conservatory students take some courses or even take a minor that's not a conservatory minor. Just keep in mind that you will have to pay that greater tuition rate, which is the conservatory rate, regardless of the type of classes you're taking. So if your major is conservatory, then you're going to pay the conservatory price. If you have a scholarship and you're taking non-conservatory courses, then yes, you can use that scholarship towards that. If you change your major though, and you decide I'm no longer in the conservatory, I'm going to be a business major, that scholarship is null and void, and then financial aid has to determine what you're eligible for that business major. You can't use a conservatory scholarship for a business major, but if you're taking just one business class, you can.
And right now we're at 12:45 Eastern, so we have 15 minutes. Just giving that heads up here, I don't anticipate us being. There's a lot of questions here, and this is great. So thank you, everybody. This is seriously great. I just want to make sure that everybody knows that the questions that are being asked that we do not get to, they will be pushed to the varying departments, and the goal would be to follow up on these questions outside of the webinar. Maybe we need to do another one of these, Misty, because this is really great engagement right now. So let's keep working through these, but I just want to make sure we know these questions will be noted and hopefully responded to in a quick manner after the webinar where possible. The other thing to note also is this webinar is being recorded, so these questions that are being answered will be available to watch again. So you may get some answers to your questions by looking back on the webinar as well. Misty, are new students assigned a student accounts advisor to help with the process?
Sure, that's a really good question. Students aren't assigned a specific counselor, and the reason that we don't assign specific counselors is because we want to make sure that anytime a student has a question, that question is going to be answered very quickly. Therefore, you can call student accounts or email student accounts at any point in time, and various counselors will respond to you. And we do notate everything in our system. So every single time you call us, we put a little description in there as to why you called. That way, say somebody in my office talks to you, but then I take your call the next time, I take a quick look at that note and I say, I know exactly what's going on with this account. So don't be afraid that just because you talk to me all the time, but you don't get me one time, that person you get is going to know exactly why you've been calling the office. Maybe not the exact reason why you're calling now, but they have a background of why you have been calling. So we don't have specific counselors that will work with you every single time. We are just all there to help you.
I'm getting a few questions regarding specifics around the international student population. Are there particular loans or aid assistance for those who are international and maybe having difficulties in paying their fees?
That's a really good question as well. International students are not eligible for federal or state financial aid. However, the private alternative loans that I talked about, if you are an international student, you are able to apply for a private alternative loan, but you do have to have a U.S. citizen as your cosigner. If you're approved with that U.S. citizen as your cosigner, you can use that private loan for that academic year to pay for your tuition and fees. In the event that you're not approved for a private loan or don't have a U.S. cosigner, then you would have to enroll in one of our payment plans in order to pay for your tuition and fees if you don't want to pay them upfront by August 17th.
All right, let's see. I'm getting some questions about how students would get into Point Web. Misty, do you know who gives them the access to those credentials? I know in the Center for Student Success, students that I work with typically already have that access. Do you know who they might contact for that if they're not able to get in with the credentials or lack the credentials?
Sure, they can contact the help desk, just at helpdesk@pointpark.edu. You should, if you've deposited, you should already have your email address, and your email address is what is used to log into Point Web. So if you know your email address and you know that you can get into your email, simply log into Point Web, not actually log in, but go to the login section and say forgot password, and it'll be emailed to you, and then you can get in. But if you still can't get in or you haven't received your credentials and you've already made your deposit, then you want to make sure you email the help desk and they'll get that information to you.
All right, I'm just reading through some of these questions to see what we've covered.
This has been really great.
Yeah, really awesome questions. I'm really impressed with the amount of information people already have going into this. Let's see, a couple repeats here. Let's see. We're getting some questions about the contingency plans for fall. Misty, is there anything that you would want to add about that for being on campus and whatnot?
Sure, I anticipated that might come up, and we did have a statement go out from our president yesterday that says that our plan is to be on campus in person in the fall. And I know that Angela probably agrees with me. We hope that that's exactly what happens. You know, we are in the yellow phase in Allegheny County. So I look forward to being back on campus very soon. But what we ask is that you actually plan to be on campus as well. In the event that something does change, the contingency plan will be sent out to everyone. We have multiple task force that are working on this right now to determine what is it going to be like in the event that we can't be on campus full time or we can't be on campus at all. And once that decision is made, which will be made well before the fall semester starts, students and parents will be informed of that. And anything that changes, whether it's how you pay your bill or when your bill is due or anything like that, we would be in contact with you. But again, our plan is to be on campus in the fall semester, and just plan that way yourself too. And as long as we keep cruising through these phases here, then we're going to be here on campus. And I know that we are all excited about it.
Absolutely. I can't wait to get back on campus. I miss it so much. Looking forward to meeting all the new students coming in.
Yes.
This question, I feel a lot of people can resonate with this question. So, parent of a first-time college student feeling overwhelmed, where do we start in the whole process? Misty, is there just like a standard, like here's where you start if you really have no clue what you're doing?
Yes, if you have no idea what it is that you're doing and you are right now working on how you're going to pay for college, the first thing is always complete the FAFSA application. And I'm sure that pretty much anybody on this call has already done that because that was available in October. And then you get your financial aid award letter from the financial aid office. From there, you're going to start looking at, okay, what's the cost? How much money do I actually have? And that financial aid award letter, which they call a prospectus, is going to show you an estimated balance. And again, that's only estimated. But you take that balance and you look at it and you say, okay, well, here are my options. There are Parent Plus loan options. There's a private loan option. There's also payment plans. What is it that's going to work best for my family? That doesn't mean you have to choose just one of those options. If you're looking at it saying, okay, we have $3,000 in savings and we're going to use that for the first academic year. How am I going to pay the rest? Okay, well, I'm going to make one lump sum payment and then I'm going to make a payment using my federal Parent Plus loan. So you're going to apply for that. Or maybe it's your payment, it's a Parent Plus loan as well as a private loan because you have decided that your student is going to take out additional loans as well to help share that cost with you. So really, first things first is do all your financial aid, get that prospectus letter, your award letter, determine from there what your next steps will be. And if you're saying, oh my gosh, I still don't know what my next steps are, then that's when you call me and we walk through those next steps together.
Misty, can you repeat the email address to let the office know a FAFSA will not be sent in?
Yes, it's simply financialaid@pointpark.edu.
And then I had a question come through, Misty, about providing a link and info for Flywire. Do you happen to know what that is off the top of your head? Is it a simple URL?
I don't know exactly the URL because they obviously have something specific for Point Park, but if you go to pointpark.edu/student accounts, or if you don't remember to do that after, if you simply go to our search box on our webpage on the left-hand side and search Flywire, we have a bunch of information out there for you, as well as if you log into Point Web and you select that you're going to pay with foreign funds, the Flywire site comes out for you.
And a question came through about how we can speak to someone from student accounts. Is there a specific email or outreach that you would encourage everybody to go towards with that, Misty?
Yes, right now, since we're all working remotely, email has been the fastest way that we've been getting in touch with our students. We have it student accounts, so starts with an S, begins with an S, student accounts @pointpark.edu. That is our department email box, and it's checked all day long by every single one of us. If you do want to make a phone call right now during the pandemic, you can go ahead and call, leave a message, and we will call you back within the next 24 hours. Now, if we are in the office, we're going to pick up when you call.
Someone is curious, Misty, if you had a recommendation on a Parent Plus loan versus a private student loan.
Sure, that is totally up to you and your family and what it is that's going to work best for you. The federal Parent Plus loan is a loan in the parent's name and the parent must repay. If you're a parent who's saying, yes, that's my goal, that's what I want to do, I don't want my son or daughter to have any additional loans, I'm going to take that loan out, then that might be the loan that works best for you. If you're saying, well, I don't really know if my credit is good enough, or I don't know if I really want to have a loan again, because maybe you're still working on your student loans from college, then maybe a private loan will work better for you. But you could be a co-signer, so you are still helping your son or daughter that way. Or maybe, grandma or aunt or best friend wants to co-sign for that student. It really is up to you. And then you'll want to take a look at the interest rates too. The interest rates on a private loan are going to vary. So you want to make sure that you look at the interest rates whenever you apply for that private loan and say, okay, it's reasonable. It's not a 13% interest rate or 14% interest rate. It's something that's reasonable.
Does the student need to provide permission to allow a parent to call and ask questions and or obtain info on the student's account?
That's a really good question. So we have authorized payers, which that's when a student goes out to Point Web and designates a person, an individual to say, hey, this person can log into my account and they can go ahead and review my account and make payments securely online. That's one way. Another way is complete the release of information form. We like to have both of those on file. The release of information form allows for your parent or any other individual to call our office, walk in our office, or email our office with your questions. At that point in time, if we have that form, it's good for your next 4 years of school or however long you're in at Point Park University. and we can talk to that person on that form. You can also use that form to say, hey, I don't want anyone to talk about my account with you.
All right, let's see. After you've submitted the tuition fee, meaning you've committed, what's the general next step? Schedule classes, room assignments? Do you know what the process looks like from there, Misty?
I believe what happens next, if you've made your deposit, which is the fee that you're talking about is committing to the university, that's your $300 tuition deposit. You'll then be an admitted deposited student. And then I do believe, Angela, that the Center for Student Success will get that information, and which is going on right now, that students can go ahead and start getting registered. And the Center for Student Success will actually do the first semester registration for the students. At that point in time, once that registration is populated, within 24 hours, my office will generate a bill. That bill will include all of your tuition and fees and on-campus charges if you're living on campus. It may or may not include your financial aid, depending on whether or not you've completed all the documents in the financial aid office. So the next step after depositing is getting registered for those classes, and Center for Student Success will be in touch with you about that. Is that correct, Angelo?
That is, and I do want to piggyback off of that because there are now questions coming in about the fall schedules for freshmen. So the Center for Student Success, I oversee the entire School of Business. I'm one of 8 other coordinators. Starting on this past Monday, we started registering freshmen that have made those deposits and are in that sort of status heading into Point Park. We should be through our first wave. So if you've made those, I can at least speak for myself. I know School of Business students should be kind of where they are, but we're working through it this week. And I would assume that anybody who has made a deposit heading into Monday, the 18th, that by the end of this week, you should have a schedule. You can see that schedule in Point Web. I also know that after we get through some of the freshman registration, each advisor, student success coordinator, as we're referred to, we will email students to let them know their schedule is ready. And then a student has to actually go into Point Web and view that schedule to verify that it is correct, that it meets the, the different restrictions that one may have with their life or work schedules, things like that. So we're working on it right now, but let me also provide this, and I'll type it in the chat. If you have any questions that regard academics or scheduling, email the Center for Student Success it's css@pointpark.edu, and I will put that in the chat as well. Let's see if I can get 1 or 2 more questions here, Misty, before I give you the your final farewell here. Let's see.
Sure, just one more thing about the registration. Once you're registered, you don't have to wait for a notification from my office. We do that once per month that your bill is available. Right now, those bills are available within 24 hours after you get registered. So you don't have to wait for a notification from my office. You can simply log into Point Web and view your student account statement to see your bill. And June 6th is when we do the first big email out to students about their bill. So that'll be coming soon.
And Misty, I think we'll answer a lot of questions with this one. I'm going to kind of paraphrase to combine them together. It seems like there's a lot of questions on what a professional like you, Misty, might kind of advise. What's better, a Parent Plus or a student loan or a private loan? From what I gather of hearing you talk, Misty, it seems like it's really an individually based kind of decision. If somebody wanted some insight, can they reach out to Student Accounts Financial Aid to give just general insight on the differences between them?
Yes, absolutely. If you're still in the situation where like, I'm not really sure if a Parent Plus loan or a private loan or a payment plan is better for me, you can contact the financial aid office specifically for the student loan options. But if you have questions about the payment plans and what it's going to cost you, and you don't yet want to go through the process of applying online, we can take a look at what your bill looks like right now without any additional loans on there and calculate a payment plan for you to say, this is the amount of money you'd be paying monthly. Is that feasible for you, or do you need to add an additional loan to it? And as far as which payment plan or which plus loan or private loan is better, you really need to figure that out on your own to determine what's going to work best for you on an individual basis. That financial aid can break down the big differences between those two loans.
All right, Misty, I'm going to give you 2 questions in one here, and after that, then we'll let you kind of just give the final word here. I'd want to reiterate that we did not get to all these questions, which is a good problem to have. I will be gathering all of the questions and data that were not answered. I've marked the ones that we've responded to, and we'll have somebody reach out to you here in the coming days if warranted. But the final, like, combined two questions, Misty, I want to present to you. Some are looking to know, where can somebody get the FERPA form? Where can somebody get that, the authorization, like for the information, and then also the authorized payer form? Are those in the same area?
Sure, that's a very good question. So the authorized payer is done on Point Web by logging into Point Web and going into the payment center. From there, you're going to authorize electronically someone that you want to have access to your student account. Remember, just your bill, so they can look at just your bill and make payments. So that's through Point Web through the payment center. If you want to do the release of information form, which we're going to ask all of you to do that, you'll be getting an email from us in June to do that. But you can do it now, because then you won't have to get our email. But if you log into Point Web, you're going to go to the students section at the top, student accounts on the left, and under forms, you're going to see a couple forms out there for you to complete. There's going to be a release of information form as well as a bookstore authorization form. And you can complete both of those forms at one time. You can only submit it once, so you can submit it, and then we're not going to ask for you to do it again. If you say, well, I don't really know if I'm going to charge my books to my student account, why do I have to complete this form? You can go ahead and complete it, and you never have to use it. It doesn't mean we're going to charge books to your account. You actually have to go to the bookstore or order them online in order for that charge to appear on your account. It's there just in case you decide you're going to do that. So everything's done on Point Web. The specific forms that we're going to ask for are going to be done under forms. Authorized payer is done in the payment center because that's linked directly to your bill.
All right, before Misty, I give you the final word, I just want to let everybody know a final few things. There will be a recording of this webinar that you can go back and view. If you don't get a link to it in an email automatically, you can email me, and I will put my email in the group chat right now. So feel free to reach out to me and I can give you that access. I also want to let everybody know that I put in the group chat the email for residence life, student life. There are a ton of questions coming in about housing and being assigned a room. And I think that obviously with us being at the end of the webinar and reaching out to residence life, student life might be the best route to go with that. So please check the emails that are in the chat. If you have questions after the webinar, you are welcome to continue to email myself, Misty, any questions. And again, we will be following up on questions that were not answered in this webinar. So with that, Misty, I'd like to give you the final word here before we say goodbye.
Sure. Thank you, Angela. I appreciate that very much. And thank you every person who is out there on this webinar. It is such a huge success, and I'm so excited to be able to be here, even though it's virtual. I'm very, very excited to be here with you, and just know that we're going to continue to be here with you. If you have any questions, if you leave this webinar today and you say, well, my questions really weren't answered and I still have a lot of questions or anxiety, or I'm really concerned about my bill, please make sure you know that we are here to help you. Student Accounts is always going to be here for you, whether it's your first day of school or your last day of school, and we're going to walk you through every single process if that's what you need. Feel free to email us or call us once the office is open again. We always welcome guests in our office. We don't ask that you have an appointment. You can just come in at your leisure, and we are here to help. So if you're concerned at all, or you just have general questions, please email us and we are here to help. Financial clearance is very important to your success at Point Park University, and we want to make sure that we offer you all the information that you might need for that. So again, we are here to help, and please know that. And I'm so happy and grateful that you were on this call today.
All right, everybody, thank you again, as Misty said, for joining us here. Welcome to Point Park. I can't wait to work with you in advising. And until next time, I hope everybody stays healthy, safe, and just in good spirits. Thank you again, everybody.
Thank you very much. Whew.